Uh, Justin, do you have any questions for us? Because we can talk about anything you want to, dude.
Yeah.
I'll ask you guys this because I was getting a little bit more information on this topic this uh, this week,
Okay.
especially. Um, and this is kind of a point on the left where I tend to agree with, and I don't see a lot of people on the right talk about. But
Okay.
I think, especially with younger generations, this is having a little bit more bipartisan support. And so I kind of want your opinion on it. Where do you guys stand when it comes to like the legalization of, like, let's say marijuana, the legalization of marijuana?
AB, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm all for it. It will give the states a lot of taxes, because if we end up taxing marijuana like a lot of places, a lot of states that have legal weed are doing, they're getting billions of dollars from that whole industry, and more taxes means more government support, better programs, and better roads, better infrastructure, and all that. And I don't believe anyone should go to jail for having an ounce of weed on them. So the laws are kind of ancient. The laws need to change, and I am personally all for making weed legal. Because we live in a society where alcohol is allowed, and alcohol has killed more people than weed has. Weed has killed zero people
No,
in the
yeah,
last
zero.
100 years. Zero. So
Yeah,
if we live in a society where alcohol is legal, then there should be zero reason for why weed should be illegal.
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And
And then what about you, brother?
so from my
And
end, I mean,
honestly, before you even say that, honestly, we can have a whole part three because this, like, in talks with my dad, like, like that podcast would be amazing because we could talk about how that has in like there are branches. That is just one branch, and I feel like um there's just a whole system that we don't even know about. Um
right.
like I don't even know how to articulate it because the whole reason, I don't know if you guys know why weed was even made illegal in the first place. That's the same
Why?
people who were in control of that, making that illegal, are the same people who are, like the Carnegies, the Rockefellers, and who are the same people who insidiously know that, imprisoning more people helps private prisons more. And, the 13th Amendment only, I believe it is the 13th Amendment, it only abolishes slavery for people who are free. It's a whole circular kind of scheme.
Yeah.
And that even deals in with education, like
Hmm.
Common Core. I don't know if you guys know what that is, right?
Common
But
Core.
that
I know what Common Core is, but what does that have to do with what we're talking about?
because Common Core has been proven multiple times to cause reading deficiencies and reading problems
Damn, are you
when
Really?
serious? Dude,
yes. Oh, you
they,
didn't
they
know that?
they fucking put me through that shit, dude, like a few years ago.
Bro, it gets even deeper than that. It gets even deeper than that
Reading
because
deficiencies, damn.
they can predict how many prisons that they can make 20 years after. I think it's like the fourth grade. If you can, like, your reading efficiency level, depending on that, they can basically predict how many prisons they can make in 20 years, because a link, especially with crime, is the ability to read. Um, and so this whole circular thing,
Hmm.
and that's the reason why, like, Common Core sight words. That's what I meant to talk about. Sight words, like sight words, especially when reading,
Damn.
like they are proven to cause not only obviously dyslexia, but other reading problems versus the phonetical way of learning. And like some of these people who are in this system, they know this, but they want. Oh my god, I'm going a little bit too deep on this. Like,
That's all
This
right.
really,
is
the education,
interesting.
the
This is
public
super interesting.
education system
Hmm.
that we deal with today um, has basically made people and engineered people to basically become um, industrial workers. And I'll deal with that more on the third podcast, but how that deals with weed, because it's the same people, Rockefeller, Carnegie, people who we've always thought were like good people, like they were a big part in making cannabis illegal when cannabis and hemp had been used for thousands of years. Like, George Washington grew hemp farms
Yeah.
on,
Right.
yeah, him, Thomas Jefferson. It's been
Yeah, yeah,
ever,
yeah.
but you guys know, do you guys know why it was made illegal in the first place? It had nothing to do really with, the actual weed, like the marijuana
Yeah, I'm
part
I'm
of
No,
I'm
it.
pretty
why?
sure that there were racist connotations, right, for making it
Yeah,
illegal.
but the main reason why is because it was about to take over in the 30s the paper industry, because of it's easier to grow, it's faster, and like the pulp basically that would have made the paper, it would have taken over the paper industry. But I think one of the guys who was in charge and had like he had invested a lot of money in timber, and he had his own um newspaper line. He saw that as a threat to his business, so he placed misinformation campaigns on candidates, called it marijuana, which is actually a wild tobacco. It had nothing to do with cannabis. Changed the name, made it sound more foreign, attached it towards Mexican immigrants and black people, saying that it would cause, and also like jazz musicians, saying that it would
Right.
cause them to rape white women, and obviously very racist.
Jesus.
But it had really nothing to do with the thing that was smoked by people, but it had everything to do with what you could actually use hemp for. They wanted to control and monopolize basically um, not only the paper industry, but like just industries in general. Like like Ford. I don't know if you knew this, but they used I think in the first model, the Model T, they used fenders and other like body parts made out of hemp, like not solely based off of hemp, but it used hemp, and it was strong. It was stronger than metal, and lighter as well. And they saw that as a threat, because you can't patent a plant, something that's natural, but you can patent, even when it comes to pharmaceuticals, you can patent those type of things. And
Yes.
that's why, in my opinion, I think that it all wraps around, and that's why I really think it should be legalized, because it was criminalized based off of a lie, and it was criminalized based off of not only racism, but basically they're just trying to monopolize everything and control the world. Like the many uses of the hemp plant is just uncanny. Like I can't even explain it all right now. Like we'll talk about that all
Hmm.
in the third podcast, but that's basically where I stand on it. I feel like more people on the right should get educated on the topic, because that's a topic that we're losing on, especially with young people, especially with the left, because that is literally a point that I can say that I agree with the left on, because you see like people like Jeff Sessions, who wanted to like increase on the marijuana laws, and I think he said no good person smokes pot or anything like that, or something like that. I think he said
Yeah,
that.
that's all bullshit.
Yeah,
What?
and I feel like if more people on our side would uh, go for that, like we would have at least a better standing with people on the left when it comes to debating them, or
Yeah,
just having personal relationships with them.
yeah. There's absolutely people who are right leaning who support the legalization of marijuana for sure.
For sure, yeah, for
What
sure, yeah.
what would you say to a right-leaning conservative who believes in all the different uses of hemp and is fine with making hemp? I mean, I'm pretty sure hemp and CBD are legal. The only thing is that's not
Yeah,
legal is marijuana.
that's why I love Trump for what he did, because he made basically what he did. Cannabis has been made a Schedule 1 drug that there's no medical uses, and it is extremely it has an extreme rate and basically risk for abuse. That is what a Schedule 1 drug is, and that is
Right.
what marijuana and before 2018 hemp was classified under Schedule 1, and that's what cocaine, heroin,
That's crazy.
stuff like that.
And
And all
psychedelics
what
like LSD also.
yes, psychedelics like LSD, and what Trump basically did with the tax, I mean not the tax, the Farm Bill, 2018 Farm Bill, he took hemp off of the Schedule 1, and basically what hemp is any cannabis plant that has 0.3% or less THC.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, he basically made that anything that has 0.3 or less THC, he reclassified that as industrial hemp, and he made that legal. The production, the cultivation, the selling, consumption, it's all legal in all 50 states
Awesome.
under the 2018 Farm Bill. And I think that also um, can go into like when we're having discussions with people who lean left, like they might have contentions against Trump, but if you bring that up, then like they really have nothing else to say, like because a lot of them will be like, oh, I support nothing that he's done, but if you bring that up to them, then you have a conversation.
Yeah,
But
Hmm.
you were
absolutely.
saying what would I say to somebody who's right leaning who what?
Who believes in hemp, who believes in CBD, but who just doesn't want to make actual weed, like THC substances, legal.
I would ask them why. Why? Like let's play devil's advocate.
Yeah,
What
sure.
what would
Yeah. What if the person on the right says it's known to decrease brain function and all that, like
that's
especially
actually scientifically incorrect.
no, for
I would say that
for people who are 25 and younger, it does
yeah,
affect their
people
prefrontal cortex.
yeah, for people who don't have developed brains, but see, these are the only risks, or not the only risks, but these are the main risks when it comes to cannabis. And I think it's something, or THC, and I think it's something that anyone should know before consumption. I think that anyone who has a history, whether it be in their DNA or their family,
Hmm.
of psychosis and schizophrenia, they shouldn't
Right.
use it, or they should use it with in accordance with CBD, because CBD along with THC mixed with THC has a proven result to decrease that psychosis. So
Psychosis.
that's
Yeah.
one thing. Two, you shouldn't really be using it. Definitely, if you have a developing brain, because it has, um, you know, proven to decrease a lot of brain function in young adults, and I can see it because a lot of people are a little bit visibly slower off of it. But
Oh, for sure.
my point to that right leaning person, I would say, is what is done by keeping it illegal. You're basically um, encouraging police to lock more people up for it. When one, what is the purpose of locking people up? It's for you're taking person A out of the equation so they can't harm person B. But if person A is only harming person A, then like you're basically just putting person A in jail where one, they typically tend to get into higher crime because that's all they've lived in through. And it's basically, as I said, remember 13th Amendment, especially with private prisons,
Right.
they know that weed charges are so easy to get people in jail, and so that's ching for them. So it's, I think I would say to that person, I would kind of go to them the history of private prisons, and some of the corruption when it comes to the actual prisons. And I would be like, by keeping it illegal, you're encouraging more people to be locked up for a simple plant.
Yeah.
And I would say to that person, maybe they could start at decriminalization, because there's really no reason that it should be made illegal. Like, as you said, been nobody. More people have died from caffeine than THC or cannabis or
Yes,
marijuana,
dude. Caffeine,
and caffeine
drowning,
is
lightning
readily
attacks. It's just pretty crazy, dude.
exactly. So keeping it illegal, it makes no sense. It,
Yeah.
it makes no sense in my opinion, because it's just like there are multiple other. You can buy a bottle of 2 bottles of whiskey and drink yourself to death right
Yeah.
tonight. It's
That was actually going
completely
to be one of my points. Like, if substances like alcohol and over-the-counter pain medications are legal and they're causing way more damage in our society than marijuana ever has, then we should make the product legal, and then we can let the people decide and choose, like we make people decide and choose with alcohol and over-the-counter pain medications and stuff like that. Like, it should be the person's choice.
absolutely. And I think also there was a study, I don't remember exactly where it was, in Colorado, that showed that in places where they legalized it, the crashes, I think it was um, fatalities from like intoxicated drivers, like alcohol related deaths,
Hmm.
when it comes to driving, that decreased. So that would show you that more people would choose the more natural, less harmful substance of cannabis as their, I guess, release, if you want to call it, rather
Hmm.
than alcohol, and
Mhm.
it wouldn't cause the same. I'm not saying that people should be driving high, but I'm saying that um, it has shown in studies to reduce traffic fatalities when it comes with alcohol.
Better than driving drunk.
Yeah,
This is very interesting. I don't think I've ever read this study. So you're saying that total amount of crashes decrease, or are you saying that just the
the
the drunk
alcohol
driving?
related.
Oh, alcohol
Yeah,
related
the drunk.
decrease.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think they're also made, because I heard Joe Rogan talk about one study where it just talked about traffic fatalities in general
Okay.
Hmm.
decreased.
Damn. Need to look into
Um,
that then.
yeah, I need to look into it a little bit more. But
Yeah.
the state that I live in, Virginia, they just decriminalized weed earlier this month, July the 1st. Yeah,
That's
Oh,
awesome, dude.
nice.
That's awesome.
and so I think if we had more open discussions, because I feel like a lot of people, when they say they're conservative, oh, we stick to traditional values, and we're not going to kind of look at any other points. We're just going to stick to what how things have been. I feel like that's what some people. I'm not saying all conservatives at all, because like from a standpoint, conservatives more about like less government. But I feel like some people like in the conservative movement, they kind of tend to think, oh, traditional, kind of just stay to how we've been taught traditions, when, as I've proven before, and as I'll prove more in the next podcast, those traditions have been propaganda, and those
Hmm.
traditions have been fueled off of misinformation and disinformation. So I think if we looked at things more nuanced, or looked at things and saw that they were a more nuanced issue than a one or two-sided issue, then I think we would really actually see progress, because it's not we like sometimes majority of the people on the right don't have it all right, or so, like some vice versa, like some people on the left don't always have it right. So it's like, if we all acknowledge that and kind of came together to find legitimate solutions to these problems, then I would be all for that, man.
Yeah, I agree.
Perfectly balanced as all things should be.
Absolutely. But yeah, man,
All right.
I love that. I love that discussion.
Yeah.
This is so like if you want to do drug talk, we can definitely do that. It's not just weed, it's psychedelics and the kinds of effects they could have on your psyche and how
Talk
it
to me
can
more about
actually cure
psychedelics.
depression.
Talk to me more, because that's not I've never tried them, one, and I don't know too much about them. I'm more passionate about, I guess, cannabis, cannabinoids, endocannabinoid system. So I don't know too much about psychedelics if I'm honest. So what do you like?
Right. So there were government studies done, I think, in like I forgot the years when they were done, but basically they were testing LSD and shrooms, mushrooms, to see the kind of effects that they had on the human body and whether they should be legalized or not. And in a lot of cases, what these substances do is they cure mental illnesses. So if you have depression or if you just have mental issues that need some way of being lessened, THC could do that. But when it comes to psychedelics, it really just does solve the issues. There's stories of people who have taken LSD and then come out of their 8 to 12-hour trip with all of their issues fixed. And so one of the theories is that the government has also classified these drugs as Schedule 1 because there's just more money in treating a drug over a treating a an illness over a lifetime than there is in one go. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's literally what me and my dad were talking about because um I'm trying to remember the exact term for it. And this is also something that the Rockefeller University, because there, I think in order to be a state doctor, you have to go to the Rockefeller, I think it's some Rockefeller University or something. To You don't have to go there, but you have to get some credentials from there. And they teach in medicine. I think it's the allo alloprantic or some a way of medicine where it treats the problem over time more than it actually deals with the root of the problem.
Right.
Um, and wow, that's crazy that you're saying that because me and my dad were just talking about it. I think it's um I don't remember exactly what it's called. Allo um
Alopecia.
no, it's
Alope-
not alopecia.
allopathic?
Allopathic, yeah,
Okay.
allopathic medicine. Yeah, it's basically treating or suppressing the symptoms instead of actually dealing with the root of the issue. My thing when it comes, because I have heard about like when it comes to psychedelics, like let's say instead of taking big hits to give you a crazy trip, like doing what they call microdosing. I've heard about that. My big thing about like I would be for decriminalizing it for sure, but my thing, I don't know if you guys will have a like what you have to say about this, but is if we were to legalize it, what would happen? Because you don't want people to drive trip because like that is pretty dangerous from what I've heard in terms of like if you're tripping to drive on that, like I feel like that would be a little bit dangerous. How would you attack that if we were to um, either decriminalize or legalize?
Wait, so any drug, if it's psychedelics, if it's THC, weed, whatever, when you do decriminalize it, there's a way to create a system to make it safer, you know?
True.
And you see that when you go to a dispensary. When you're buying street drugs, you don't know where it's coming from. You don't know what it's laced with, if it is laced with anything. You're just taking something and then you're putting it in your body and you don't know what's actually in it. You wouldn't go to a bootleg McDonald's and then just buy something because you don't know what's in that burger. And the same applies to a drug. You want to know where it's coming from, what it's made of, and the kind of effect that it'll have.
And that's how why a lot of people they get drugs that are cut with like fentanyl or something like that.
Right.
um
And for psychological drugs like LSD and psychedelics, one government project comes to mind. I don't know if you've heard of MK Ultra, but basically it's like, when was it? In the 50s, and then they reduced the scope in the 60s, but basically it was the CIA mind control program, and they were trying to use LSD and other psychedelics to see if they would be able to coerce people that they were interrogating into giving them information by using these drugs, and I don't think it worked out because I feel like the effects did come out a lot better, and they seemed to help the actual people that they used it on, rather than controlling their mind. It made them free.
Yeah,
Wow.
it had a lot of mixed results, but you should read about that mind control experiment. It's a very interesting read.
It's very interesting. I mean, Joe Rogan talks about it, uh, and then what's his name? He had a
Andrew
podcast.
Schultz.
Andrew Schultz. I mean, Andrew Schultz is great. I don't think he had. That's not the one I'm referring to. The guy who does a lot of conspiracies.
Oh, Eddie Bravo.
Alex Jones.
No, not Eddie Bravo. Justin just said his name. Alex
Oh,
Jones,
Alex
right?
Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, Alex Jones. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm pretty. He was talking about this with Alex Jones, and I mean, the stuff that Alex Jones talks about crazy, but it's only because you see snippets, you hear snippets of what he's saying, but then he could go on for hours about it. And Eddie Bravo mentions that in one of his podcasts with Theo Vaughn.
Dude, they
AB
both go
mentioned that
so
one.
deep into conspiracy theories that it's so entertaining to watch them,
Right, right.
dude. Let's save the drug talk for part three, dude.
It's a
How
good
about
name, Drug Talk.
that?
Wow.
All right, man.
That's crazy. But yeah, man, I love this podcast. We'll definitely do a part three. We can talk about all that.
Yeah.
I have to definitely get my thoughts when it comes to that, because that it is encroaching literally into everything. It's like a huge like circular system that just had my mind blown.
Yeah,
But
Right,
yeah, we'll talk about that soon, brother.
let's get deep into it next time, dude.
for sure,
Facts.
for sure.
All
Great.
right.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, of course,
Thank
man.
you for being here, talking to us about all of this.